Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Harmonious World. My name is Hilary Seabrook and this is an independent podcast inspired by a Quincy Jones quote which goes, "Imagine what a harmonious world it would be if everyone shared a little of what they're good at." And I would like to take this opportunity to thank everybody that I've bumped into or that I've seen online who's said that they are enjoying particular episodes or just listening to them all. It's great. So there are over 300 episodes now, and I've spoken to some amazing musicians about what they are doing to make the world a little more harmonious. And I've got some great ones lined up for the future episodes as well. Alongside Harmonious World, my blog contains album and live performance reviews, and all the links for those are in the show notes. For this episode of Harmonious World, I was delighted to join Marco Cafolla in a little coffee shop in central London to discuss his work with Federation of the Disco Pimp, Mama Terra, and his solo work under the name Cafolla. And what you're listening to now is the title track from Gratuitous, which was the latest album from Federation of the Disco Pimp. I hope you enjoy listening to my chat with Marco Cafolla. Sorry I was wrong. If I can't have you, I don't want nobody else. I want no more. Welcome to Harmonious World. I'm delighted that you were able to join me. Thank you, Marco.
Thank you for inviting me.
Brilliant. So, we've got a lot to talk about because, as I was saying, as we were walking towards this cafe, I first heard Mama Terra, and when I heard A Mind's a Dream, I just loved it. And Jazz FM have been a huge supporter of yours, haven't they? So.
Yeah, they broke us in that respect, you know, so it's kind of been an old school way with the one with algorithms and Spotify's and Apple Music, where we've had an old-fashioned radio station behind us, and yeah, a lot of we are probably more well known down south rather than back home because of Jazz FM, and all our shows always sell out down here, and everyone's like, "Heard you on Jazz FM," and it was Mind Supreme was really the track that did that for us.
Yeah, and I think Nigel kind of heard you and just went, that's our thing, really.
Yeah.
So talk to me. So you've got Mama Terra, you've got Federation of the Disco Pimp, and then you've got your solo stuff. Cafolla, yeah. So, but you've also done a lot of other stuff. You've done some MDing and lots of. So, can you talk me through a little bit of the timeline of how this has all happened?
Sure. Well, the Federation, that was the first band, the first original band that I was really part of. And we had a great run from about 2010. We did 2 albums, More Than Dancing and Inamorata. We then became the house band on BBC One for the Commonwealth Games when they were up in Glasgow. So we were on BBC One for 10 nights, which was really special. That was 2014. And then we made the Inamorata album, which was really well received. So that was, we did all the festivals, like Craig Charles and BBC Six was my biggest supporter. We went out on tour with him. We opened for George Clinton in Parliament. We collaborated on a show with Snarky Puppy. And we recorded our albums in Brooklyn, in New York, with a producer called Joe Hamill, who'd worked with everyone, from Tom Waits to Nina Simone. So that was my main project. And then about 2017, I think it just had a glass ceiling for a minute. Funk music doesn't really have a scene in the UK, I'd say, a proper infrastructure. So I think what we did was incredible, but I just felt like I had to take a little step back. So then after that, Cafolla came along, my solo project, which was more songs, and the last Federation album was called Inamorata, and that was actually all about the Scottish independence referendum, but more about people having self-worth. Inamorata means forbidden love. and it's a very Scottish thing not to love yourself, you know. So all my point was, whatever side you are, it doesn't even matter. It's like, but you should be heard, you know. So that's where that kind of finished. And then what I realised in retrospect with that album was, I was trying to do jazz, I was trying to do funk, I was trying to do song, which I think it worked on the album, but it was a lot to put on, a lot of pressure for one project. So then Cafolla became the songs, Federation became the funk, and then little did I know Mama Terra would come after that. So Cafolla, it became a right songs, and there was a lot of, the first album was called Cowboys and Africans.
So Cowboys being all the politicians.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, obviously I played Cowboys and Indians, and I just reading up on it, like where the modern human being came from was Africa. So my point was, we're all African in that respect. We all let's see through barriers and like everything that's dividing the world in a time even more now than ever. I was just trying to bring us together a little bit. So you're an African or you're a cowboy, you know. So that's where that went about control and things. So but then the pandemic hit, and that album was such a labour of love to make. I did a Kickstarter campaign. It was an incredible way to connect, and then we launched the album, and then a month later we went into lockdown. So I just grinded it to a halt. So that was such a transformation it was going to be, and then that happened. So then during lockdown, I realised I wasn't very good at much other things. I couldn't hang a painting, I couldn't do anything else. I tried to get like some temporary work, just nobody would take me as a musician, you know. So I doubled down and I just started writing more. So that became a second Cafolla album, a third Federation album, and then a new project called Mama Terra. So and Mama Terra came from self-healing, really. It does, I went through just a personal experience which wasn't amazing, which isn't really important, but I was then sitting one night and all this music started flowing out of me, and it became Mama Terra. Like, really, most of that first album came out in one burst, and that's why it's called Summoned. It felt like it was summoned, and I've had such an amazing response from Mama Terra is now arguably the biggest thing I'm part of, but the response from people has been incredible, and how it touches them and how they relate to it, and even a lot of it's instrumental music is. But I think it's because it's self-healing music, and that starts from me. It's self-healed me, and then I think that's kind of seeped into the ether, you know. So that's when Mama Terra came along.
You realise that kind of a white Scottish man of a certain age, so hearing you talk about healing is kind of counterintuitive, because you know Scottish men are kind of have this image, don't they, very kind of big and bravado and.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's really nice that you've embraced that.
Yeah. Well, I think our parents have everything to do with us, you know, like a lot to answer for in both senses. But my mother and my father. But my father was a hypnotherapist. I thought he was a hypnotherapist, and he was like, I was his guinea pig basically. Like, since I was transcendental meditation, like meeting when I was 12 years old, you know. So I'm an Italian as well, so we're very in touch with our feelings. The love, first and foremost, from both my parents is definitely gave me the platform to explore what I wanted to be. But again, my dad was practicing mindfulness before it was called mindfulness, you know, like so again, I've been very much his guinea pig since I was a child in that respect. So I felt very in tune with myself in that respect.
And are they both Italian? Both your
no, they're both actually born in Scotland. It's my dad's parents are both Italian, so he's Italian, but he was born in Scotland. And my mum's Scottish as well. So, it's funny. My mum, she gave me a diet of disco and funk music, you know, and my dad was more blues and jazz and stuff like that, but between them it's definitely having some of those parts, you know.
Yeah, and so these three projects all kind of encapsulate all of that.
Yes, for sure. I also made a joke again, like we were opening up for Federation, was opening up for Nile Rodgers and Chic, and I was like, this is great, but it doesn't pay all the bills, this one band. It's like, I just need about 3 or 4 original projects and I'll be able to do it, you know. I was joking, but I now have 3 projects. But so again, the Federation then became kind of on hiatus at that point. But then I got a phone call during lockdown as well. After I just wrote this Mama Terra music, I just recorded this, the second Cafolla album, which is called The March into Forever. And that was about not being in control, and that's okay. But the March into Forever is the walk of life in that respect, where we have, as much as we are controlled and we want to be in control of our lives, like we have no control of life in the sense that we weren't chosen to be here, we're here, and then we leave, you know. So my point was the moral of that album was it's okay. Now there's some things, let it be and go with it as much as you can. So I had that, and I had Mama Terra, and then out of the blue I got a phone call from Long Island from Mama Terra from the Average White Band, saying, Marco, where have you been all my whole life? You know, like now I love your music. Like let's do something together. So long story short, the pandemic came and went, and he went back out the Harmonious World band. But I wrote this new Federation album, Gratuitous. So I just recorded that. But I managed to get some other special guests, including Fred Wesley from Billy Valentine.
Billy Valentine.
So it's all worked out really well.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much there. There's so much to unpack. So Gratuitous,
yes.
The new album. Let's focus on that because
sure.
that's your new thing.
Yes.
So what does it? Where does it come from? Where do you think? What are the themes behind it?
Well, I've always found that all my albums are concept albums, if you will. So, and I find it really easy to write from that once I have that initial idea. So I think Gratuitous is more from the fact is that there was no real need for this album in a lot of ways, but because there was a love still for it, and I, as I said, I took the songs away from it, for the most part, and I took the jazz away from it. I could just really go down on the funk side of it and the soul side of it, which again I have a deep love for. So Gratuitous, the title track itself is the actual only bona fide song on the album, and it's actually, I mean, you'd be mistaken to think it's I know I shouldn't tell you what the song really means, but I didn't write it as a love song. I wrote it as a love letter to the band, actually, because it's all about having something and taking it for granted, and then coming back to say I'm sorry, so it's under the guise of a love song, but I had to. One of the Federation tracks is called I Love Tomorrow, and we talk about that in the song, and the Cafolla albums, the March into Forever. I thought we'd have Forever. I thought that's where we were going with it, but I've came back to my first love, if you will. So it's all a bit gratuitous in that respect. So then that was the platform jumping off from it. So I doubled down. I found doubling down as the way to go. It works for me. So I just went heavy to the funk stuff, and we opened for George Clinton in Parliament, and I knew at that point, that was 10 years ago, that the next album should be that world. So it starts in that funkadelic world, and then it kind of hits the James Brown vibe, and then more modern funk, which we're more known for, So it's all gratuitous in the sense of there's just more of everything, because why not?
Well, absolutely, why not? So it feels like you know your heritage, if you like, in terms of jazz and funk, disco and soul, but you also know what's going on right now, because all of these things feel like they're very, you've captured the zeitgeist, I think musically and also thematically. I mean, I think, in terms of, what's going on in the world, it feels like you've captured that as well.
It was funny you say that, because jumping back, I wouldn't say about Cowboys and Africans, there's a track called Toba, and again I was discovering where we all came from Africa, and then I was like, why did we leave Africa, and it was like because of this super volcano. It was a big exodus, and it was called Toba. So the song's about when a mass disaster happens, how do we treat each other. It was more about that rather than that. So this is, remember, before the pandemic.
Well, that's what I was about to say, because that's almost reflecting how we responded to the pandemic, and people responded in very different ways.
Well, I don't know if you remember the clips of people fighting in supermarkets for toilet roll and stuff.
Yeah.
So then I just grabbed those and put Toba to it as a music video. Because when they're like, now the Shum was now eat the week, and no one hear them cry. Like, I was like, when the chips are down, how do we? I mean, it really, as human beings, now there's another track called Dumb Animals, and that's about human beings, about the potential we have to be, like, the things that we've achieved as humanity is incredible, but we do terrible things and wars and stuff as well. So, this was a precursor to the pandemic, yet it was almost a soundtrack to the pandemic in a way. And that album actually came from, I went to Stevie Wonder toured the Songs in the Key of Life album, the 40th anniversary, 2016 or 17 it was, down here in Hyde Park. I went to see it. And he says, I'm so grateful that I still get to play this and people won't hear it, but I'm still very sad that the themes of this are still relevant. And that struck a chord with me. And I was like, I don't have to reinvent the wheel here, I just have to say it for my generation as well. So that was a huge jumping off point for me.
Yeah, and actually I wanted to talk to you about your project with Headhunters.
Okay.
That was really extraordinary. So it was the 50th anniversary of Herbie Hancock's album, Headhunters, and you took that and kind of made it right for the 20th century, 21st century.
Yeah, I gave it the Mama Terra sound. So, I mean, that was born from Jazz FM called me up and they said they did this classic album series.
Oh yeah.
So I was actually on holiday. I was quite relaxed, and it says, "What album would you do?" And straight off the cuff, I said, "Headhunters album." I was like, "Everyone knows Chameleon. That'll be fun." Never thought about it really. I said, "We can do that. It'll be fine." But then, and I love that album. I've worn it out, that album. But then I was like, I listened to it and I was like, wow, there's so much to this album that's like, there's a lot of work to be done here, you know. So, and then I was like, and it's such an iconic album as well. I was like, how do you reinvent an album that's just loved by everyone? But do it right, basically. So. There's no bigger fan of Herbie Hancock than myself, so I'm a storyteller, you know, like with all my music, like and this comes from being instrumental music as well, like every song has a story behind it, so I wanted to tell the story of the album rather than just play the album as well. So I started off with a Miles Davis track called What I Say, which was his electric period, and I just wanted to show you the kind of the genesis of jazz funk came from was Miles and his electric period in a lot of ways, and Herbie was a huge part of that. So we played that, and then that segued into Chameleon to show you the kind of the transformation into that. And then in between the Headhunters album and the first album, he did a live album in Japan called Flood, and another album called Dedication, and he reimagined Cantaloupe Island, and it was more like the Headhunters sound than the original. So I wanted to do a version of that as well. So, and then they finished off. We played the rest of the album, then we finished off with Butterfly, where they went after that, you know. So basically, this was Herbie entered the synthesizer period, and I wanted to then take all that away and make it more acoustic, you know. So rather than synthesizers doing these melodies, I had Rachel sing them or Conrad play them on saxophone, and rather than like synth bass, I got the upright bass, but we put some pedals on it. And then I just gave you some piano and electric piano. So I was all done with love and respect, you know. So, and I think I never realised how much work it was going to be from this off the cuff. Let's just do the album, but because I loved it so much and I wanted to do it right. So, but again, it was a great response to that, and we had some great reviews and great features because of it. Which again is no mean feat when you're taking on Herbie Hancock and such an iconic album.
No, absolutely. Well, talking about taking on people, I would like to talk to you about my gateway into Mama Terra, which was A Mind Supreme. Because obviously John Coltrane and Love Supreme is, I mean, it doesn't get much better than that.
Absolutely.
So let's play a little clip of that.
Sure.
So what made you write that?
Well, I was literally summoned. I was not. With Mama Terra, everything changed when I started writing music for Mama Terra, where I feel like it's coming through me now. Where before I felt like I was sitting down to write music. With Mama Terra, I literally feel like I was summoned, and I feel like a satellite. I truly believe that you put that out there as a satellite, and you're asking for it, and then it comes to you, So, but like anything, that's the 1% inspiration, and the 99% is how you make it work. So, I was talking about this earlier actually as well. It's like songwriting is like being a musician in the sense of you need to keep practicing. Like it's not it just comes like that. So I'm always writing. I'm always sitting at the piano writing music. I do that more than anything. So, but with Mama Terra, I was singing, and it came through me.
Wow.
And I'm always recording just with my phone on the dictaphone like app or whatever, hit record, and then I was there, And a lot of the album I can't remember writing it, to the point I'm double checking it. So there was no real purpose. I wasn't sitting down to write it. It definitely came through me, and now you always get inspiration from everywhere, right? And as I said, if you have a theme or a concept, you can jump off from there. But like that moment of inspiration was like, it's the gold that's you're looking for, So, and I'm just so lucky that I was able to like ask you shall receive in that respect, So.
Yeah, that's it. And it is a stunning track, and as I say, it was my gateway to going. Oh, wait a moment, Mama Terra, what's this? And then that took me to Federation of the Disco Pimp and Cafolla as well. So thank you for doing that.
No, thank you for picking up on it.
You've also done some work with One Jazz.
Yes.
So you did some programs for them?
Yeah, I still have a show called the Cafolla Joint.
Okay.
So, and it's music that inspires, turns my head, and feeds into my own music. So, when I was asked to do it, Chris Phillips, who runs it, a legend, he says, I want you to just have a show, and I says, as long as I can play what I want, basically, like now, I'm happy to do that. So, which actually has been, it's another great thing about Mama Terra is that I'm again listening to more jazz than I've ever listened to. I've always been, jazz has been in my DNA since I remember, but I never performed it too much, out in the public, I did have like trios and quartets, playing the big band at uni and things, but I was just like, I just felt like mine, and I didn't want to, I like my jazz, so I didn't actually know if anyone would like my jazz, so I just kind of left it, for me in that respect, and that's where I went with the Federation, in that respect, but, so there's nobody who could talk more about jazz than myself, I'm sure, so then having this, the Mama Terra's make me listen to more jazz again, which is nice, and also, with the One Jazz show, I've got this huge CD collection that I've had, which I can actually use again, because I can use it now. I can just grab them, and then I'm sitting reading the notes of the albums again, and rediscovering things that you have in your house maybe that you just don't like. It's too easy now to go on Spotify or Apple Music or however you listen and just play the song. But a big part of it was the artwork, the notes inside it, the story behind the music. So I know all that anyway, but it's just been nice to revisit all these stories again and see where it goes. So it's just been another beautiful tangent of Mama Terra. So.
Yeah, and One Jazz is a wonderful thing, isn't it? Chris Phillips won the All Parliamentary Jazz award, a special award.
A special award for his services to jazz, which is incredible.
I mean, he absolutely deserves.
He was one of the biggest champions of Mama Terra to start with as well. So. Him and Christian Bragg, who's at Jazz FM as well, and so again these were people I've known from Federation, and again the jazz world has actually been really good to me, and even though it's been Federation for the most part, so actually it was so open arms when I actually brought them some bona fide jazz music, but I would send some of my albums, like Cafolla albums or whatever I was working on, to certain people before it was released, and Christian and Chris Phillips were two of the ones I sent it to, Just Phillips, I think he actually did play it before it was even announced, but he just loved it so much. He was just like, yes, Marco, like, I get to use it. So, like, he's been a big champion as well as Christian has.
Yeah, great. So, what is next?
Next is Inner Space, which is the next Mama Terra album, which has just been recorded. I just got the masters back last week, and I'm so excited about it. So,
right.
It's I'm hoping it's a progression of the summons.
Yeah.
The feedback I've had from everyone so far as it is, I've added some strings to the album, some extra layered voices as well. So it's. Again, it's the concept of inner space, which we started talking about in the summons, where you've got Elon Musk who's obsessed with going to Mars, and I talked about that in the last hour. Before we get to Mars, we should be taking care of ourselves on the planet.
Yeah.
And Mama Terra is Mother Earth, of course. All things we should. Again, it's another version or variation, of Cowboys and Africans, in the sense that we should be taking care of each other.
Yeah.
Mama Terra is the same thing. It's like we should be taking care of each other before anything else. So Inner Space is again a play on outer space, where it's inner space where we should be. I wrote down it was find the inner space and the overwhelming grandeur and live in that moment. It's like so. It's all these in a world full of overwhelmingness. It can be literally that. So it's like, but let's embrace it.
Yeah.
Now step into the unknown and take a chance.
Yeah.
So, and Inner Space is there's a track called "The Whale Dives Deep," and it's the bottom of the ocean. It's like we've never been there. We've never been to Mars, but we've never been there. So I'm more interested about Mother Earth. There's a track called "Roots and Fruits" about celebrating how the Earth literally takes care of us. But the big. And then the other play in the word is in her space, in Mother Earth's space, which we live in. So it's definitely an exploration into the inner space. And again, mindfulness about take care of ourselves mentally as well as physically.
Yeah.
So that's the theme of the album.
Absolutely. That sounds brilliant. One of the first interviews I ever did was with Maria Schneider, just after she'd released Data Lords.
Okay.
And Data Lords is an incredible album, and it got lost because it got released in kind of June 2020.
Oh wow, really? Okay.
But it's an album, but I mean musically obviously it's an extraordinary album, but the concept behind it is very similar. It's very much about the data lords who control us, and everything in our phone and in our heads and all of this stuff, and how we need as human beings to kind of question that and really sort of think about what we're going to accept, what we're not going to accept. And I think it sounds like that's very similar.
Do you know, I love that connection, because I love Maria Schneider.
I know.
I first heard her when I was a student, and she wrote the Allegrisi album, and another badass move of hers is she doesn't have much thing online. She keeps most of her music off streaming sites. And it does she has that stature obviously where she can do that, but power to her as well.
Absolutely.
It just gives her art and music much more value, because everything's so worthless in that respect now, because it's effectively free. But I just fell in love with her sensibility of harmony, and then that she studied with Gil Evans. It's like, and it's like obviously the biggest Gil Evans fan, from the arrangement side as well. She has been a huge. In fact, she was one of the first tracks I played on the Cafolla joint, a hang gliding track, which is beautiful. So that album means so much to me. And again, that's a CD I had that nobody else had. Sorry, it wasn't online easily to stream. So I could pull that out and play it on my first show, because I love her music so.
She's an extraordinary woman, and I didn't really kind of at the time I was just like, oh okay, I've got an interview with Maria Schneider. It was only when I was in the run up to it I was thinking, this is Maria Schneider. Do you realise who this is? And I wouldn't have been able to interview her had it not been lockdown.
Yeah.
Because of course she would have been travelling and especially promoting that album.
Sure.
But then I saw her with not her own orchestra, with a I think Norwegian orchestra at the Barbican.
Oh, nice.
And that was, she's just watching her, the physicality of her conducting. Just amazing. So yeah.
I mean, like that was like 25 years ago when I saw her. Like, and she was playing the Jazz Orchestra of Scotland,
right.
And they're a great band, obviously as well. So, but to hear that music was just like, and do you know what? Like in a time when there didn't have any women band leaders as well, like and she owned it, and it's like it's just an incredible musician and artist. So that's in our space. But the other story of Inner Space is I've got, as I said, Miles' Electric Period in a Silent Way is arguably my favourite album. Right? So, but the whole Electric Period, it means everything to me. And there's an album we did called Live Evil. And that album has informed me since I was like 16 or something. So there's the track on it called Inamorata, which is the name of the last Federation album. There's the last line. So at the end of the end of the Live Evil album, it's a double album. The last track, Inamorata, is 25 minutes long. The last couple of minutes, this poet, Conrad Roberts, starts speaking over it. And he speaks this poem he wrote for it. And the last line he says is, "I love tomorrow." And when I heard that here's in the back of it, when I was 16 years old, one of my songs is called I Love Tomorrow as well. So when I wrote Inner Space, I was like, I'm going to write some words, a poem, if you will, at the end of the title track, and never thinking much about it. And then I just said it, I was like, who am I going to say it like now? So then, long story short, in that respect, I was like, I wonder if he's still alive, because this is 1970, like he did this, and he sounded old then. So I did some investigating, I did some digging, and I got him. He lives in LA, and I connected with him. I sent him the track. He loved it. So he agreed to do it. So he now is speaking on the new Mama Terra album, and not only that, I wrote these words for him to speak on. We spoke on the phone, and he was telling me stories about Miles and his journey as an actor as well and stuff. And then at the end of it, he says, "I wrote something else for Miles that he never used. Like, do you want it?" And I was like, yes. So this is prime 1970 words he wrote for Miles Davis. That he gave him a bunch of options, and he chose the Inamorata words. He recorded this other poem, and it's on one of my other tracks as well. So on this new Inner Space album, I have Conrad Roberts, who worked with Miles Davis, and he's speaking some words that he wrote on it as well. So
that's extraordinary, isn't it?
This is what I'm talking about. Asking, you shall receive. I truly believe, and this is all going back to the mindfulness and the transcendental meditation. It's all connected for me. It's this. The reason I heard this album when I was 16, and how it's been with me since then, and then it's taken all this time later for it to present itself to me. The 1% inspiration happened then, and then it wasn't easy finding him because he's not online at all and stuff. But we got there, and we're in regular contact. Wow. It's like not even many people will probably know his name, so which is fine. But I it means more having Fred Wesley on the Federation album is a big name, and and he is a hero of mine as well. But nobody means more to me than Conrad Roberts, and the fact that we're not that we just collaborated, that we're friends, I would say, that we are speaking every other day. It's incredible. It's been worth this whole journey just to connect with something that took me back to when I was 16 years old.
Absolutely, and somebody who Miles Davis respected.
He lived with him as well.
Just amazing. Yeah. That's mind blowing. Really.
He told me that he would let Conrad hear the music before the musicians. So Conrad Roberts heard before Herbie, all these recordings to get his opinion on it and stuff as well. It's and I mean, as I said, Miles Davis is Miles Davis and Frank Zappa are probably my two biggest influences.
Right.
In a lot of ways, especially Miles and the Electric Period of Silent Way, and to now have a real connection to that as well is mind blowing for me. You know, I would say you should write music for yourself. You know, because like when you put it out there, you don't own it anymore, so like now you should be happy with it 100%. So this was for me, and I can't believe that this has happened, you know. So it's this album musically is a different world, if you will, in a lot of ways, but the spiritual side of it again, which is what Mama Terra is about as well, is again it's that satellite of receiving, you know. So.
Absolutely. So when is Inner Space going to be out?
It will be out hopefully early next year, maybe springtime, I'd say. You know, so I was meeting last night about that. So we don't have a definitive date yet, but I mean, I'd comfortably say there should be a couple of singles by February, March out, and then the album should be soon after. You know, so. It's very frustrating as when you release an album, when you're trying to release an album, especially through a label, of the process of how long you have to wait. You know, that's how I ended up writing other albums, because I'm waiting for that album to come out. You know,
So while you're waiting for that, you're obviously going to be touring with Federation.
Yes.
So where can people find you?
Well, we've just announced the Glasgow launch for Celtic Connections, which is a great festival in January. So the 21st of January we'll be playing in Oranmore in Glasgow. I'm trying to sort out a date in London. Just now I'm talking to a few venues, so I was kind of hoping that I would have that tied up by this trip, but hopefully next week or two I will let you know about that. So we've not played London in a few years, so that'll be nice. And then once we have London and the Glasgow date, we can then now tie up in between there as well. So once those two key dates are there. So. But Mama Terra will be playing in the London Jazz Festival next month. The 16th of November at Pizza Express Soho, and we're doing two shows there. We're doing the 1 o'clock show and the 8 o'clock show. We're going to 2 days later. We're going to Poland. We're playing in Katowice as well, which will be incredible. I think that's sold out already, which is amazing. And Mama Terra's playing at Celtic Connections, that same festival, in January as well, on the 29th as well. So there's plenty coming in for next year. So if you check our socials, we'll print the whole list.
And you're gonna keep everything going, and keep you creatively inspired.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I've recorded so much music the last few years, and even the live album, the Herbie album, that never meant we just recorded one of the shows, and I felt like it should. I just presented to the label, and we should release this. I was like, great. So I don't think I'll be recording. Like, who knows? But anytime soon, I want to go out and start playing all this music as much as possible. So I'm looking to tour it more and stuff as well. So because it's very exhausting, like now, and you literally, I really put, you put everything into it. So and as the arranger, producer, musician as well, it's like I'm there from the first note written to the master, and everything in between, and then so. It's a joyous moment, but it's a very sad moment when you get that final master, because that project for the recording side is done. But I had no idea how Mama Terra was going to be received after the first album, so I hope that if it's even received half as much as the first album, then good things will happen again. So.
Well, and the audience loved it as Love Supreme.
Oh, that was just that gave me chills. That show was so good. You should never say you have a favourite, but there is something different with Mama Terra and the music. There's a connection that I have with no other that I've done with Mama Terra, and the room is always, I feel truly connected to the audience, and that tent was huge. It was filled. It's funny, I think a lot of us play with our eyes closed, so every so often you open your eyes and you try and soak in a wee bit of that as well, and the response was incredible, but if it's Pizza Express or Ronnie's, smaller rooms, busy to big festivals, it feels like the same thing, now it's the connection to the audience with Mama Terra is truly unique for me, so and I really appreciate it. So.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining me for this.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you enjoyed listening to that conversation with Marco Cafolla. What you're listening to now is Out of This World, which is also from the album Gratuitous from Federation of the Disco Pimp. Please remember that you can find reviews of albums and live gigs at hilaryseabrook.co.uk. And I hope you enjoy listening to Harmonious World. Please do get in touch with any comments you might have. And if you're somebody that I bump into in the street from time to time, then tell me what you think and which episodes you've really enjoyed. Thanks for joining me once more for Harmonious World. Thank you for listening to the latest episode of Harmonious World. My name is Hilary Seabrook, and it's a great delight to bring this series of discussions with musicians and composers and writers and all sorts of people to you. Obviously, there's no point in having a podcast if people aren't listening, and I'm very grateful to my listeners for doing so. Thanks also to Joe English for composing and performing this new theme tune. So wherever you get your podcast, you can leave a review. You can share this with your friends and family, either as a link or on social media and that sort of thing. I'd be really grateful for that. Don't forget that you can subscribe now. There's a link wherever you get your podcasts. So have a great week, and please remember why I started this, which is just to try and make the world a little more harmonious. Thanks for listening to Harmonious World.